Welcome to In This Body, the online event to support parents and caregivers with staying regulated, embodied, and connected even when things get intense. And today I have a very special guest with me here, a very dear, dear mentor to me personally, Kerri Hummingbird. Kerri is a medicine woman, mother, and mentor. She's the founder of Inner Medicine Training, a mystery school that shares potent ancient traditions from the Andes and Himalayas for owning your wisdom and living your purpose. Kerri is the #1 international best-selling author of Inner Medicine, Becoming One with Mother Earth for the Survival of Humanity, Love is Fierce, Healing the Mother Wound, and The Second Wave, Transcending the Human Drama, which was on the international bestseller charts for over 333 weeks. Um, and she also has one more award-winning best-selling book called Awakening to Me, One Woman's Journey to Self-Love, which describes the early years of her spiritual awakening. As the host of the Soul Nectar Show, Kerri Hummingbird inspires people to lead their lives wide awake with authenticity, passion, and purpose that positively impacts others. As a healer and mentor, she catalyzes mind shifts that transform life challenges into gifts of wisdom. So good to have you here, Kerri.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me, Nadine. It's so wonderful to see you step out in this way. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. Uh, I want the listeners to know that I so appreciate Kerri for her personal impact on me on my journey. I'm one of Kerri's students, and I so appreciate her. So Kerri, tell us more about who you are and what you do.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like I've been on a lifelong journey of understanding my human psychology and trying to live in a way that is peaceful and beautiful and less drama. And I didn't start off that way, right? So I started off with lots and lots of drama. And then spent about 20 years in weekly psychotherapy trying to fix myself and make it stop. Like not knowing why I was doing whatever was happening in my relationships or in my work life or myself inside my body. And, I left all that paradigm because I felt like it wasn't getting me anywhere new. Right. And so about 2012, I stepped on this journey. And ever since I did, it's just been one magical unfolding after the next. And just studying with indigenous medicine people in the Andes Mountains in Peru, becoming a mesa carrier myself, which is a earth steward in their tradition, and then studying with the Shipipo with plant medicines in the jungle, and studying with the Visharaka peoples of Mexico, also called the Huichol, who Carlos Castaneda studied with. And just, it's just been so magical. And it started because one of my first classes, they showed me this book called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, which is Toltec wisdom. And Toltec means artist of the spirit. And when I had been an artist for many years, um, just love creating art and wanted to be a famous artist, right? Like just wanted to be able to make my money off being an artist. Didn't want to do high tech work anymore. I was tired of being a technical writer and working in Silicon Valley and this is not fulfilling. What's the point of any of this? And I want to do something meaningful. And then I came across this book and it's like I could be the artist of my whole life. Okay, I want to do that. And it just got me on the course of learning everything I could and to support myself and my family. Because by now I'd been divorced and there were relationship struggles with my ex-husband. And, my kids were going through challenges living in two households. And so it was a lot, right? And I wanted help to show up as the best possible person, unmedicated, that I could possibly be, right? Because I was just done with the whole idea that medication was going to fix it and that there was some label that I could confine me. And so, yeah, it's been an amazing journey and it just keeps getting better and better. Now we have a community as you're a part of, inner medicine community. And we practice all this wisdom. We practice the Toltec wisdom. We practice the indigenous wisdom from the Andes Mountains. We learn from the gene keys, and we put that, into our medicine bundle. And we learn from all of these ancient traditions, and we reconnect to our bodies, our hearts, our souls, our ancestry, and then just magic unfolds just by the fact of that reconnection. It's amazing to be in community and to have such amazing souls like yourself that are so wise to be part of community with, that we exponentially grow together. I just think I'm like a kid in a candy shop. Like I finally have all the friends I wanted, right? Like it's just so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, to be like with people who finally get you. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Uh, you mentioned reconnection to our body, our soul, our ancestors. Let's talk more about that. Uh,
Yeah, because, part of what makes being a parent so difficult is all of the stress and strife and separation that we're currently experiencing in our family systems, and honestly have been for a while, because a lot of people's families became quite superficial just in order to stay in connection with them, right? It was like so much conflict happening in the family system. And there was like this energy of awakening wanting to happen for the individual, but then within the family doesn't want to support that sort of energy. So then there's like this black sheep, part. But you feel very alone in our paradigm. I know many people have said, especially in America with the politics situation, like people have just lost their entire families and they're trying to parent all by themselves with no support. And, it's just hard. Let's just say that it's so hard. So when we reconnect with our soul and with the planet, Mother Earth, first of all, when we reconnect with Mother Earth, we just all of a sudden realize how supported we are, because we didn't realize how much support there was. When we reconnect, we realize I am supported. Okay, this planet is conscious. It's not inanimate. It's not a floor. It's a being of light that is teaching us. And wow, okay, I do have plenty of support, and the nature is always supporting me. If I go for a hike or go outside or I sit on the ground, I have lots of support. And so just reminding ourselves that we have support, even if it's not showing up in human bodies. And then when we learn to practice the four agreements, we start to learn that how we can be in connection with our family that doesn't agree, right? Or calls us crazy or whatever they're doing, and not being supportive in the way that we need them to be. We can learn how to hold ourselves with the support of our ancestors, because the ancestors, sort of beyond the veil, they're not in the human game right now. And they can see very clearly through what's called the smoky mirror in the Toltec tradition. The smoky mirror is what obscures our vision of what's really going on. They can see through that. And they go, oh, that's just that pattern that I started back in my lifetime 4 generations ago. Okay, let's see if I can help this beloved soul who's listening to work through that pattern so that there's less suffering in the family system. So our ancestors become allies. And when we learn how to listen and welcome their support, and then that helps ease the way with living bodied ancestors or family that might be confined a bit more to the confusion and the doubt and the distortion of the smoky mirror in the human condition that we're living in, because it's confusing oftentimes, right? And everyone thinks they're right. And in some way, everybody is right. There's not necessarily one empirical truth at the level of human consciousness, but we can learn to appreciate the differences in a perspective based on different bodies, and right. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
think there's so much wisdom there that helps us reconnect, right? It makes life easier to have support through the storm, despite the conflicts and the disagreements, right?
Yes, yes. And as you were speaking, I was reminded of how when we stay in the mind and the judgment of the mind, it's like we create all these stories of right and wrong, instead of remembering that there is no right or wrong. It's a whole experience. Um,
It is, and it's something to pay attention to. Like when you have a judgment, is to go, oh, I'm having a judgment. Okay. And what's it about? Oh, I think that they're not doing what I think they should be doing. Oh, and I'm concerned because why? Because I love them. Like I'm thinking specifically about my boys, right? Like, oh, that behavior is indicative of a closed heart. Oh, no. And then I can be really upset about it and take it personally, right?
yeah,
But then that's the opportunity to look at myself and say, oh, I'm doing that because I'm hurt and I'm taking it personally. And so those four agreements, be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and do your best. They guide all of our work because they're so foundational. For me, I actually read that book. I think I told you this, but I read that book like 30 times front to back when I first got a hold of it. I'm like, I need to reprogram my mind because this is hard. It seems so easy when he says it. Why is it so hard to do? Because of the conditioning.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, any tips on how to like step beyond this conditioning of the mind? Um, like, where can people start?
Yeah, I think the place to start is to recognize that you have a judgment. So I'll take my younger son for an example right now. I know he'll forgive me later if he finds out about where's this conversation, but I'll just say he's 23. I should say enough right there. He's 23. Now, he is living his life right now. He's getting a master's and he's doing extremely well at school. He's doing great. And he's really invested in himself, right? And in his own path. And for him, because of the divorce, right? Oftentimes, if anyone's listening who's been through a divorce, you know how difficult it is to have a copacetic divorce. Like when you get a divorce, the parties are estranged, people are feelings are hurt, and as a sage, as a speaker, I've been vocal about my journey, right? Keeping it to my journey, but it doesn't matter. My journey for people who take it personally and reflect on them, right? So there's a lot of heat in that dynamic, and there's been contention in that dynamic for a long time. No matter what I did to try to ameliorate it, I can't change the other person's response or reaction. And so that's what my son has been grown up with, right? Since he was in fourth grade. So he's had like these two homes where it's not okay. You're not being loyal if you love both parents. You have to only love the one and not the other to be loyal. And so that's a difficult situation. And so you can understand that from that situation, he's having this moment of liberty living in his own place, living and focused on his own dreams. And right now, he doesn't want to deal with the conflict in his family situation. He wants to just focus on himself and get his own feet on the ground and do that rather than be embroiled in this thing that has been part of his life for, since 2011. So you can understand that. And as a parent, ouch, that hurts. Ow. And so that's my job to heal the ouch within myself so that I am not projecting resentment towards him or blaming him for his choice or judging him for his choice, but simply understanding his choice as part of his dream of life. This is what he needs right now in his dream of life. And as a mother, I feel like my job is to hold my heart open, right? And also without expectation, right? And so therefore, I've got to meet all of my own needs. So the cool thing is like, oh, I can use this experience as a way to strengthen my self love and to strengthen my knowing of my wisdom as a mother, because of course that was also part of it, the contest between many people experience this where the masculine because we're ending the whole patriarchal paradigm. So, it's extra stinky right now, seems like, in the public collective about the masculine wanting, to have control over the feminine and to denigrate and to dismantle and to distract and to not become accountable to the harm and all of, these things that have been going on through all the revelations that have happened. And we know some of those revelations are quite painful, right, to witness. And so when you have that dynamic, you can also understand that as just part of the end of a paradigm and the beginning of a new paradigm. So we're beginning a paradigm of the, many people say it's the matriarchy opening up again, and maybe that's true, but I feel like it's not a reversal. It is an inclusion of everybody as a child of the divine, right? And so we're moving into new territory, and that just takes time for people to accept, So there's so many, like, you could chew around the edges of it all day long to go, why? But you can understand, and then I remarried, and then there's another whole reason why it might be uncomfortable because I have a new husband, and then that replaces the father figure. And then, then your sense of identity as the son of your father is contested by the new man and, in the house, no matter how wonderful he is. So there's so many things that are so tender and so part of the human psychology, and that we can have grace for it. And then also have grace that it hurts, like both ands. We don't have to leave ourselves out of the grace. We can admit that it hurts and just put all the love here that we would have been directing there. Like, just put it here and love ourselves. So I hope that helps to just unpack a little bit of my process. But this is the way I think about things now than the beforehand times when I used to project and blame and, right, you're making this happen to me, or you're making me feel bad, or this is terrible behavior and you need to change for me to feel better. I realized that first of all, it's never going to happen. And so it's insanity to keep wanting it that way. And so what's the other option? I'm in here.
Yes, yeah. And I love how you bring in your personal story, but also like you see it reflected in the collective as well. And it's like this is it's amazing how sometimes like every individual is going through a certain personal thing, but it's also uh, a mirror of what's happening on the wider collective. And like you end up realizing it's the same thing, but just on a
Mhm.
different scales. And if what would happen like if each family started like just working on the family themselves, like just family by family by family.
Exactly. I mean, if everybody picked up the book, The Four Agreements, but then again, we don't want to be dogmatic, I mean, because we had religions that were dogmatic and that hasn't worked out very well for a lot of people. So it's a doorway. I like the Four Agreements as a basis in our community because it's practical and it has analogies that made sense to me.
Mhm.
And so I think it's great wisdom. And the gene keys, they offer us such great wisdom from like 5,000 years of the Himalayan, I Ching development. I mean, that's a lot of time to be, that predates Christ. So that's a long time to be practicing this wisdom, right? And it's useful, and I think we should only ever use things or incorporate things into our lives that are actually demonstrating that things are changing, even if the change is incremental, even if it's just a little bit at a time. And that's why we need systems of tracking, like that a change has happened and acknowledging the change. Because oftentimes we just get focused on the next problem.
Mm.
But if we can stop and acknowledge the successes, we can see, oh, it is changing things. Okay, then I'll stick with this model. But like if it's not changing things, like 20 years of psychotherapy, just because that was the model that they handed me as the only option, doesn't mean it was working for me. I mean, I learned a lot, I will say, but it wasn't transforming me. And I think that a lot of things have changed in that realm over the past since I left it. So I would say that now I know that a lot more people in that space are incorporating embodiment and somatic healing and a lot of things that are transforming people. So I want to say that things have changed since my engagement with it. But yeah, you have to do what works for you. You have to do what you notice is actually working to change your life. And usually that means you're going to face these moments of wanting to run away, wanting to not show up, wanting to distract, or anything to then to face that thing. But usually if we hold ourselves accountable or in a community of accountability, it helps us to face those things and move through them, because on the other side, it's like taking a corset off. It's like, oh, I'm free. Oh, I feel better. Things are better now. But it's constricting. And I think a lot of people are feeling constriction right now. It's what's happening because we need to grow, and we're being encouraged strongly to do so.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the pressure that shapes diamonds sometimes. You need the pressure. Yeah. And like you mentioned community, like the power of community is so big. So big. Yeah.
It's exponential. It's what I've realized in creating this community is that it's the group programs are wonderful in the mirroring, because just like I did and I just shared my story, like anybody listening is like, oh, that was really helpful. She just broke it down in a personal experience. That's what happens in the group program. Everyone's like, you'd have a week like this one that we're currently recording in, and it's like 8 planets in Aries. It's a lot of big energy, right? And then we'd have everybody coming in offering their reflections of how it's showing up for them. And like you said, you can start to see, oh, it's not just me. I am experiencing an aspect of this collective phenomenon that everybody else is experiencing, and it's showing up like this for me. Then you feel part of something bigger. You don't feel so alone in it. And you also, those voices that say there's something wrong with you because you're experiencing this, or you're broken because you're experiencing this, or whatever it is, you can debunk those voices because you're like, no, because that person and that person and that person. And so I'm okay. I'm moving through something that is bigger than me, and that's okay. I'm working on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, you mentioned the four agreements. I know that, like, I'm, these have also impacted my life. I also know that you teach the four directions and the four earth elements, and these have been also very profound on my transformation as well. Yeah. Do you want to speak to those a little bit?
Yes, actually, um, the medicine wheel is what you're talking about. And this is a Native American um, spiritual construct, where they understand that there are consciousness beings at the four directions. They're not just on a map, but they're consciousness beings that come in support of us when we call and when we know how to speak with them. And when we start walking what they call the red road, when we start walking this path of Mother Earth, and we're like, okay, I'm here as a steward of Earth. I'm here to become coherent with Earth, and that way to be informed as to how, like, what's out of balance with me. And we're out of balance in Western civilization. We're completely, many of us are disconnected, and we're just living from the neck up, and we're just all analysis and worry and doubt and confusion and just smoky mirror all over the place, and just throat up. And then we're not paying attention to the rest of our bodies except to eat a lot for comfort, or drink a lot of wine, or whatever it is people are doing for distraction, just to cope. you know and so what we want to do is we want to honor that there's aspects of self. And so the medicine wheel divides the aspects of self into four directions. And so we have the south, which puts us back in our body. The body's really important. It's our vessel through life, so we must honor it. It's more than 25% important, but it gets 25% on the medicine wheel. And then we move to the west, and that is really about our mind and emotions, our limbic system, our emotional body. and just the crazy stories we can tell. Woo, it's a lot, you know. So the West is really about letting go, like let go of the false identity, let go of inherited patterns that don't work for you anymore, belief systems, you know, the conditioning that we were talking about, anything that constricts you, let it go. And the West helps us do that. Also helps us open up gratitude, you know, because that's an emotion. So we can open up this beautiful sun of gratitude, like, oh, I'm so grateful for this life and all the reasons why, you know. And then when we move to the North, we have Hummingbird, and we have the soul body. And the soul works through the same way as Hummingbird. The soul leads us to the nectar. It leads us synchronistically. If we believe in it and we start to follow it, the soul will guide us on a journey. And we can congest it with doubt and confusion and arrogance. We can congest that crown chakra so that we don't get any insights at all. And we're just all thinking everything like, you know, and stuck in our physicality and our density. And then that's one way to live, but it's uncomfortable. Or we can let go of what we think we know and open up and follow our soul and take a journey, a playful, beautiful, unfolding journey with our soul that's going to show us so much. And so that's really the North, because it's also our ancestors. They're going to open up to us and share wisdom. And that's helpful. You know, it's like Cliff Notes, you know, if anybody likes Cliff Notes, you know, for tests, you're like, it's your Cliff Notes. You're like, oh, that's right. Thank you so much for that answer. Okay, I'm going to write that in here now. So it's fun, you know. And then we go to the East and we've got Eagle Condor, and we fly high with our spirit, with the great spirit, with that which is so much ascended from here, you know, and much higher vibration. And that's the part of us that's always with us. It's not outside of us, it's in us, and it's inside the medicine wheel. You see, a lot of people that get started with spirituality, they want to escape the density, you know, of the body. And so they climb the little ladder up, you know, to try to escape being human. And they just want to hang out with the angels, you know, up here all the time. And I understand that desire, but the awakening process is realizing that it's a medicine wheel, that we're all parts are equal. The spirit part of us is equal to the soul part of us, is equal to the mind, is equal to the body, the emotions. It's all, there's not one better than the other. It's all part of the experience.
Mm. Yeah, that's a very beautiful way to put it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And as a mesa carrier, like how do you now put that medicine wheel into the mesa? Because why I asked the question, that was one thing that helped me personally uh, sort of anchor into something physical that my body can touch and sense, if you know where I'm
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's and so it's called animism, and it's a type of earth spirituality that's called animism. This is what the Caro practice, which, and they're from the Andes Mountains with the rainbow colored ponchos. They're the ones that came down off the mountain in 2012 with the prophecy, you know, for that we were at the new age. Um, there's something really powerful about making your inner psychology represented tangibly in physical objects outside of yourself.
Mm.
There's something about that that really helps. I think it brings out the child in us, that, you know, okay, this is mommy and this is daddy and this is me, and I playing dolls almost, like, right, like it's so wise because the child is working out the voices using the dolls, using the inanimate, you know, the objects. And so in this case we're using crystals and stones and whatever calls to you. But it's such a journey because we, you know, we go around the medicine wheel and we put these stones in related to our gene keys chart. So we're bringing in the gene keys chart as well, and all those frequencies that are part of your soul's curriculum, which when you see your chart, at least for me, when I saw my chart, I was like, yeah, that's me. I'm constantly having these patterns, you know, and so it's like a map. Wow, that's very nice. to have a map of where, the journey you're on is quite helpful. And then to put these little stones in there to go, okay, I'm going to hold my judgment. Then I'm just going to love this part of me. And just, okay, judgment helps become more integrous. I don't have to reject my judgments. I can just notice they're happening and go, why is that happening? Because I see that this thing could be stronger. It could be perfected. And then I move down the path of perfection and I say, I know it's all perfect already. But I still want to perfect it. And that's perfect too. Like it's okay. So I can come in, that's my key of perfection, which is the 18. So I can come into right relationship with my own shadows so that I don't have to be like the people on the ladder. Like I'm trying to escape all my shadows by walking up the ladder and I just want to hang out here in this high vibe constantly, which is not realistic. And it's not what we're here to do. We're here to feel all of it and bring love to the shadows. And so this helps us to do that. We can hold it in our hand and go, oh, this is part of me. This is part of who I am. It's so helpful, right? I just love
Yeah.
being able to hold the stones and I know they're carrying the frequency because stones and crystals are great about holding frequency. They're able to do that.
Yes. Yes. And like for me, it was all about that I am connecting to something from the earth. And as you said, it brings in play and fun, a little bit of fun to the whole experience. Yeah.
It makes
Yeah.
a very serious thing more playful. Because it
Mhm.
is, I mean, your shadows are serious. Like when you have judgments about yourself or others, that's serious. It hurts, I mean, it can cause suffering, but it can also be like when we move into self acceptance, it can be just a game like, oh, I had another judgment, or
Mhm.
your kids can be like, Mommy, that was a judgment, just like they do with the swear words. Mommy, that was a cuss word. Huh? You know, put a dollar in the jar.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah.
don't have to be so serious about it.
Mhm. And like to wrap it up, there's that also that element of the body connecting to something because and I think I've learned this from you around like when we light a candle or light a fire, it helps us remember an ancient memory that lives in our body. Mm,
Yes,
yeah.
working with the elements is extremely powerful. Yeah. And in the medicine wheel, the one that we're using in inner medicine, because different people, different Native American tribes and different people, they use the medicine wheel in a different way. And so the way that we're using it, we work with the earth element in the south because we want to get people in their bodies and grounded. And so we're working with earth and sand paintings and earth paintings. Like it's a ritual you can do to work with the earth element to transmute life experience, like we said, take it out of your psychology and put it here and you can work with it there. And the same is with fire. We work with fire in the north, just like our ancestors sat around the fire and told stories and cooked meals. We work with the fire to give it the things that we recognize we're ready to release, blow it into a toothpick and then give it to the fire and let the fire, this ancient wise being of fire, transmute that energy and then pulling back some purified flames, with your intention. You're saying, I'm willing for myself to be transformed. It's whether the fire is actually going in there and doing something doesn't matter. It's the act that tells spirit that you are ready to be changed. You're ready to shift.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Mhm.
it's like the physical act that you're actually acting it out. Your body is doing it. It's such a like powerful transformation when you like go through it. Mm,
Exactly. And you can feel it in your body. Like you can feel different after the practice. You're like, oh, I feel lighter. I don't feel so heavy or upset anymore. I just gave it away. I put it in the fire. And the more that you can really, like a little child, like little children would say, I'm giving this, and then it's gone, done. It's the adults that go, well, it's not really done, man. And then we have like the story that goes on, right? Like, no, 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 that's just not, that's too easy. I can't possibly be that way. No, it can. And it
Yeah.
is. But we've got to move ourselves back towards innocence in order for that to like to be like a child, but with wisdom, because we don't want grown adults who are actually toddlers running the country or the world. We want real wise people like grandmothers circling up to run things, I think. And so that's a wisdom, but there's also an innocence because a grandmother can play with a child really beautifully, but also has great wisdom. And so that's where we're headed, I think, is we want to change the model so that we have a more inclusive, loving, wise leader within ourselves and then also running the show on the planet.
Mm. Yeah. 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 I'm really looking forward to that model.
Me too.
I think we've had enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kerri. I know you have a gift to share with our audience. The link will be below this recording, but do you want to tell us more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I usually give people the inner medicine meditation pack because it has like some really good gems in there. It has a grounding meditation. It has, a clearing meditation. I do clearings with tobacco, and then I think there's a rattle clearing meditation. And so there's some clearing ones just to kind of clear your energy out of any heavy stagnation or distortion that's going on. But then I also was called to put in there the what's mine, what's theirs. I think you remember this one. What's mine, what's theirs is such a act of discernment because we're in a big discernment lesson on the planet right now. Like what's mine to do, what's not mine to do, what's my energy, what's that person's energy, what's my belief, what's conditioning. There's so many questions. And so this meditation helps you take two things and go, is this mine or is this something else? And you can visualize it. So it takes you through a guided meditation to visualize that. And then there's a companion meditation that helps you clear the stuff that's not actually yours. And that helps a lot of people. They tell me I love that one because discernment is can be tricky, right? It can
Mm.
be challenging to discern the right thing to do or what's in best alignment. Especially as a mom or a parent, it can get convoluted. So yeah, I
Yeah.
love having those. So yeah, that has a lot of different meditations, including those.
Yeah. Thank
Mm.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And one last thing you like to leave our listeners with?
I just heard trust yourself. That just like came right in. It was like trust yourself.
Mm.
And I think that's so important. For women, we have been conditioned to not trust ourselves, to doubt ourselves, we have all the crazy labels and generations of being sent to the sanatorium, the mental hospital, for being too much or too emotional or hysterical or blah, 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 whatever the story is. I think now on the time of the planet is totally normal if you feel hysterical. There's a lot of hysterical things going on, but like not in a funny way, a lot of it. So I mean, we're really at the edge. We have to make some new changes. And so trust your body, trust yourself, trust your ancestors, open up access to connect more with earth and your ancestry, your body, your heart, your mind, your spirit, and listen and follow that guidance, even if you're called crazy or even if somebody doesn't like it. Then
Mhm.
it'll sort itself out if you stay the course. And that's always amazing too.
Mm, mm. Thank you for this. Yeah. Thank
Yes,
you,
thank
Kerri.
you, Nadine. And
Thank
just
you.
blessings to everybody.
Mm.